welcome to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. I am Cammie, the hooked Hearty. Once again, I'm missing Hawkeye because she's at work, but I've got a really, really good fill-in. You
Someone
know and love her as Florence Blakely Yost, but we also know and love her as Loretta Walsh. Hi, Loretta.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. You've been busy. You've been doing a lot of interviews and stuff lately.
Yes, so happy to always talk when calls the heart.
Anytime, right?
Anytime. What a gift. What a gift in my life and to so many others.
Yeah, and I mean, you are one of the few who is still here from episode 1 to episode 100 and whatever we're at yet now. I mean, yeah, I mean, you've really stuck it out.
You know what? I am so thankful for that. And I have, you're right. If you had told me, in whatever year it was, 2013. Okay,
Yeah, you started filming in 2013, uh-huh.
right. You're gonna get on this show, and not only is this show gonna go for 12 seasons, but you're gonna be a part of that the whole journey.
The whole
I would
time.
have been like, stop it. Stop it. Listen, there's dreams and then there's like out of this world dreams, right? And so, you know what? It's been a dream come true for me. I'm very, very thankful for everything that I've had an opportunity to experience as one of the people involved in making When Calls the Heart, and also the incredible community that this show has really brought together. Not only the cast and crew and the people who make the show, but also the fans of our show. They are the reason why we've been going for such a long time. And so it's been incredible to meet so many fans and to interact with those fans. And, I guess I just say a big resounding thank you.
Oh, well, we love watching you. And it's also really amazing because in season 1, not a lot of people cared for you. Not a lot of people
Thank you.
liked Florence. And now you're a show favorite. Everybody loves you. You've got your own team. You've got Team Flomo. So you've got your own shipping.
Oh,
So
that's true. That's true. Yes. I think that one of the things that, I've spoken about this before, but when we met Florence, she was just really a person who was in a lot of emotional pain and
a
a lot of,
lot of pain.
and I feel like she was kind of stuck in the anger part of that grief. She
Mm,
was mad. She was mad that life had sent her really devastating consequences. And so rather than being really vulnerable and sad, she would just turn it on other people and
yeah.
judge them and just be tough and bristly. And the truth is that I think, my perspective is that usually the tougher they are on the outside, the more sensitive they are inside, right? They're just covering up a
Yeah.
lot of hurt feelings. And so it's been incredible to play a role for over a decade and to be able to really peel the onion. Oh
Yep.
my goodness. This is where her vulnerability lives. This is where her humor lives. This is where her sense of loyalty lives and community and
Yeah.
to be an upstanding member of Hope Valley. This is where the romance of her lives,
Who knew?
all of those wonderful different colors that the writers have given me an opportunity to play has been just fantastic.
Well, and what you've done with it too. I mean, yes, the writers are responsible for carrying through that, but you're responsible for carrying it out. So, and we love watching you work and we love watching you discover all those things about Florence and doing all of those things that help us take the journey with her. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So before we get too deep into One Calls the Heart, I wanted to ask a little bit about your theater happenings.
Oh,
How is the theater world going? Because I was a theater major in college.
it's
And so I would love to hear a little bit more about what you're doing with your theater and how's that going and how on earth do you have time to do theater on top of this show? Like, wow.
Oh my goodness. Well, yes, I come from a theater background. I actually come from a theater family. Like I have family members. My aunt and uncle were actors and directors and theater
Ah,
people. And my mom, in the community world has also, been in theater. And my cousins were also in theater. And so it was always around me, when I was really young. And live performance is just I'm quite addicted to it
there's
because
nothing like it.
it's really walking a tightrope, isn't it? Because anything can happen. And it's always a once in a lifetime experience every single time because of the audience. So I
Exactly.
started a little theater company called Kindred Theater Society, and we make plays. We also teach workshops. We teach acting workshops to different community organizations. And we just did our very first production as a not-for-profit theater company called The Lifespan of a Fact. And it was a total hit. People just loved it. They came and we got to share the show with hundreds and hundreds of people. And it takes an incredible amount of support to be able to do that. The theater business is a very kind of nonsensical business
It really is.
because you cannot pay your bills just with ticket sales. So I've been extraordinarily lucky that people have always supported me,
Mhm.
and our donors and sponsors have been absolutely incredible in helping us make theater. Sorry, this is my dog.
Oh,
She can tell there's something happening. Okay, lie
yeah.
down, lie down. She's like,
We
hey,
love guest stars.
we're getting animated. I want to be a part of it. So yeah, so I really kind of our thing at Kindred is that we sort of say that we want to make the world a better place one story at a time, because what
Oh,
we do with each one of our shows
mhm.
is we do raise money for other charities and organizations. And
Marvelous.
so it's wonderful because it's such heartwarming work for me. It's definitely a labor of love.
Yeah.
And I guess how I get it all done is I just do a little bit at a time over a long period so that I can still manage When Calls the Heart and being a mom and all of the life things that come up as well.
Yeah. Just like your character, right? Over a long period of time.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I do have to do a shout out. Many of the Hearties donated to the company so that we could get this show happening, so that we could continue our educational work, which is really about teaching acting skills to people who are non-actors as a way for them to access their creativity and to feel more empowered in their lives and
And
to
boy,
have
is that true.
skills and all of that kind of stuff. And so that's also really just joyful work for me. And so I'm very, very grateful to have the privilege to be able to give my time to do that.
Oh, that's marvelous. What was the basic plot line of Lifespan?
Lifespan of a Fact is actually based on some real people. A writer named John DeGata he wrote an essay. This was quite some time ago,
Mhm.
about a real life event that had happened to a real teenager. His name was Levi Presley, and he had written this really compelling, beautiful essay
Mhm.
that Harper Magazine wanted to print. But in order for them to publish it, they had to get a fact checker to come in. And the fact checker came in, Jim Fingal, who is also a real person. And he found so many um, errors. He found so many pieces of information that were questionable. And so that's what this play is about. That's the setup of this play. It was also written as a book. Jim Fingal and John Tagata wrote it as a book. And they actually, in real life, worked together for 7 years to fact check that piece before it actually went to publication.
Oh,
So
man.
that's kind of the story of this piece, but really it's about what is a fact, and
Mhm.
facts negotiable, and what can you get away with putting in the press? But the bigger question is, should you? get away with doing that because it's
Wow.
and so it's about journalism and really asking the question, what is journalism? Is there room for artistic license in journalism? Do we take something away from story if we make it really clinical and just factual? Are we missing something? Are we missing the heart and soul of a story that really
Mm-hmm.
connects to that story? Or where's the balance? And so it's a super interesting play and a super interesting topic, because it is unfinished. We don't know. And I think for all of us, when we're looking, so much of our lives are online, I am constantly asking myself, is that real? Oh my, like when I look at something, right? Whether I see a news story or whether I see just an image, is that real? Created by AI? Or does that person really look like that? Or do they have a gazillion filters on them? Like, I think we're all asking ourselves those questions,
Yeah.
what is real? What is a fact? What can we all agree on is true? And so that's really what this play was about. So it was very telling, and people left really just being like, wow, this was funny and smart, and I have so many things to discuss. And it was also really moving and heartwarming as well. And so that's the kind of material that I like to put out into the world. I like to share with people stories that are first of all, I called the company Kindred because I think that people watch TV, they go to movies, they read books, they go to theater because they're looking for parts of themselves. We're looking for parts of our humanity, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big old mirror, to say, hey, this is you, right? It's not you exactly, it's parts of you. And
Right.
so I'm really lit up and excited by that work, and being able to do it in a live capacity as well as on screen is incredible. And so yeah, that's it. That's it. I have a lot of passion. I could talk about this for days, because I'm really, really into it. And I think it's also because I've gone to plays and they've changed me.
Yeah.
I've sort of gone and gone, oh my goodness, I never thought of that perspective before.
I know. Yes, I know. Me too.
But I see parts of myself in that person, even though on the surface it looks like I have nothing in common with them. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's connecting, and I'm super interested in that. I'm interested in how art can really connect us in
Mhm.
our humanity. And, maybe as isolated as we can feel sometimes, maybe we're actually not that different from each other, and maybe we are able to connect with each other in what it is to just be a human being here and all of the imperfections of that.
Mother, actor, philosopher.
I don't know about that, Cammy. I don't know about that. Anyway, that was a very long-winded answer.
And you were worried you wouldn't have enough to talk about. You're off to a blazing start, I'm telling you. No, I remember when I read Our Town. I was 13 when I read it for the first time, and I just went, wow.
Yeah.
And that reading that play at 13 years old changed my life. And I went, oh my goodness, yes. All
Oh,
of all of these days that mean nothing when we're here should mean everything, because one day it'll all be gone. It,
that's
oh,
right. That's right. Oh, goodness. And, I think the longer we stick around here, the more we start to see that, right? And so not to go all like, heavy, but it is life affirming, I think, to go, hey, live, say what's in your heart, hang with the people who are cool and kind and who get you,
yeah.
and give what you can, and also care for yourself and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, all of it. That's a lot to do.
It's a lot to do, and also maybe just like take a breath, right? And watch When Calls the Heart.
Wow, perfect segue.
Perfect.
All right. So, first of all, I'm gonna get mushy here for a second. I have to tell you, I have squealed one time in this entire season. And
Oh,
it was when Ned and Florence started singing Daisy. That was,
so,
I just was watching and I went,
so
that's
cute.
that is what I squealed. So I got the closest thing I could to a daisy.
Aw,
We'll call it a yellow daisy.
love it. Love it.
But that moment, and then the fact that it got carried over and we got to see multiple renditions, it was so much fun. So basically what I'm asking is, number one, just what was that like to film it? And then, but number two, getting a little bit more logistical. I know that you have to be very careful with music because I'm assuming that it's old enough that you don't need a copyright. But
Right.
was there, if you'll take us through that journey, was the music just given to you? This is what
Ah,
their song's going to be, or were you given a list of approved songs and you and Rothgar could pick it? What give us the lowdown on that.
listen, it's always so funny because, this is not the first time that Rothgar and I have been called to perform.
No,
So,
it's not.
so now we like we see it and we go, oh my gosh, and we text each other or call each other and be like, okay, like start warming up because this is happening. Um, so now we have a whole system in place, which is just so great. First of all, we absolutely are given the song. We are given
Okay.
music. John Serrata, who is the musical director and the
Mhm.
composer, he gets in touch with us and says, hey, you guys are going to be singing this song and you're going to be singing it multiple times. We're going to put it down, like we're going to play the piano. Let's get together and sing the song over Zoom. Let's make sure it's in the right key for you guys. And so then you have it.
Mhm.
So we knew that was all happening. I think Rothgar and I really wanted to, because we knew that we were going to be singing the song multiple times.
Mhm.
And so we thought, well, we as the actors would like to make the decision that every time we sing that song, it is a little bit different,
Yeah.
you know? So it was
Keep
really,
people from getting bored.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And also sometimes there's not a lot of time in the scene and the actual performance of Daisy was quite slow. And
Mhm.
so Rothgar and I were like, listen, we feel like we need to move through it a little bit in the other scenes
Yeah.
because, we don't, first of all, we want it to be different. And secondly, like we've only got 42 minutes, right, to get all of this episode in.
Time's a
Let's
wasting.
let's be part of the solution on that. But I thought it was so sweet, that we talked really specifically about what we wanted to do with each of those renditions.
Mhm.
And Rothgar's fantastic, right? Like we have such a good working relationship, and he really is a friend.
It
And
shows.
yeah, we got so much time for each other, like we love to chat and to work together. And so there's no one else who I would want to say, okay, buckle up. We're doing this together. So I don't know what the future will bring, but hopefully we'll get a chance to sing and dance some more. That was pretty fun.
It, I mean, like I told you, number one, I was not expecting it. So it took me completely by surprise. And then I said this when we recapped the episode. Immediately, number one, my wife is nervous. What
Mm.
can I do to make her feel better? Which, just that by itself is gonna hit a really big arrow to the heart. And then he's singing to you, which is so romantic. And
So
then on top of all of that, the two of you just immediately eased into each other's arms and started dancing. And so I had this image in my head of Florence and Ned dancing in their living room. And
yes,
how many times had they done it because the two of you were just singing it like it was your song.
totally. I'm so glad that you got that because that's exactly what we were thinking.
I got it.
That's exactly what we were thinking, that this is not the first time. This is something that they do, you
Uh-huh.
know. Um, and it's a way for them to connect. It's a part of, the romance of Ned and Florence.
Yeah.
They're not sort of they're just a unique couple
Yes.
in way, aren't they? And so, yeah, that we totally were thinking that, and I thought it was very sweet that he was, like allaying her fears. And because at first Ned was like, well, do we really want to sign up for this Salt Lake City thing? And Florence really convinced him, like, we should
Uh-huh.
do it. I really want to do it. And then, of course, was having cold feet. So I thought that was very, very sweet, that he was
Not cold
reassuring her.
feet exactly, just nerves,
Just nerves. Yeah. And so you totally got it. You got exactly what we were thinking.
Oh, good. Well, you obviously relayed the message very well. I gotta tell you, you and Rothgar, you're not the couple that, in season one, we would have never put Florence and Ned together.
Two very cranky people, right?
Two very nosy people.
Nosy and cranky. Yes, they had more in common, that I think they realized. But it's so great that, they each have brought out a more playful and softer side to each other. How lovely. People kind
Yeah.
of often say to me, wow, like you've changed so much. Your character has evolved so much. And it's like, yes, I've learned so much about her over the decade that I've been playing her. And isn't it so great that I think it's really fun, for her not to be just one thing.
Yeah.
We're all complicated people and we all have different sides to us. And so it's really fun to be able to play all of those different things.
Well, and like you said, when you're playing this one character over a decade, you can't not just play one aspect.
Yeah.
That's for movies and very small characters that just come in every once in a while. But when you are a part of the town for over a decade, I mean, it's gonna get stale if you don't see other aspects. So you're right on the money. Bravo.
Thank you.
So we've asked you this before, and dancing in the middle of the store did not ever come up. So now that we've gotten this far, once again, where do you see Rothgar and you going with Floyo, if you will? Where do you see the two of you going with the characters in season 12? What would be your ideal storyline for Florence and Ned in season 12?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question because, having been with these characters for such a long time, I am curious to know more about their personal lives, like I am curious about that. Rothgar and I often talk about Florence and Ned really have a public persona and then they have a private
Mhm.
moments, right? And so we really get to see a lot of their public persona because they are in the mercantile, they are upstanding members of the community, they're on the town council, you know, depending on which season it is. They are, they're trustworthy, upstanding members. And really, we talk about any kind of talk or gossip per se that they may be inclined to engage in is really about um, caring about the people who are coming into Hope Valley and having upstanding members of the community who uphold the values, of Hope
Mhm.
Valley. So I'm really interested to see more of them personally. I would love to see them at home. I would love to see them, when the mercantile is closed and when they get to talk sort of more openly and privately. In terms of story, I don't know, I have like, a bunch of different ideas. I am inclined to keep them to myself for now, just in
Oh, of
case it
course.
come to fruition. But I think that there's the opportunity for Ned and Florence to learn something about each other because it's their second chance.
Yeah.
at love
Hmm.
for both of them. And so I think that it could be really fun, for Florence to discover something about Ned that she never knew, or something that Ned, didn't know about Florence.
Yeah.
They have a tendency, I think, to bring out the best in each other.
Hmm.
So I don't know that they're the kind to get into too much conflict with one another.
Hmm.
But who knows? Something may happen that causes them to be in opposition, to one another, and have to negotiate and figure that out. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know that, it's sky's the limit, really.
It is. It's
Really,
not a pipe dream. It's, I mean, almost anything is really a possibility.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll have to stand by and see. I don't know what's coming yet. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to be like, oh, what will we discover this season?
Well, and speaking of their backstory, it was really, really interesting to me when we discovered that Ned was Jewish. It
Hmm.
had never come up, and so I was really curious about that actually. And so is that something that Florence knew about from the beginning,
I
or was that something that she discovered along the way? It, because it's never been discovered on the show before it, and we went, oh, Ned's Jewish. Okay. Wow. So what how did that happen with Florence where Florence is concerned?
I think that Florence would have known about that. I think
Mhm.
that I think that, off screen, she
Yeah.
would, that that he was. And, from memory, I think Florence was really encouraging him to bring some, Jewish traditions to Hope Valley and to
Yeah.
share, right? So I think she's nothing but supportive, and which is beautiful and lovely to
Yeah.
say, hey, you know what? Um, we have some differences in faith, but we love each other deeply,
Mhm.
and we accept each other. And isn't that the definition of love, really? Is saying, hey, we have some different ideas, but really we have a lot of the same ideas, and we're going to focus on what connects us
Yeah.
rather than what divides us. And so I think that it was a beautiful storyline, and a beautiful, of course, for Rothgar and I, we didn't know until we read it and went, oh, okay, awesome. That's totally great.
I really wondered what it was like for the two of you to read the script and go, "Oh, didn't know that part. Great. Let's go with
Yeah,
it."
fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's only a good thing, and only it and only enriches, the fabric of this community.
Mhm. All right, so let's talk about the community for a second. So, we didn't get to see in the episodes, at least we didn't get to hear Florence's opinion on all of the Tom Thornton debacle.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so I mean, part of me says, because you've still Florence has still got the staring down. Yep, you're doing it right now. She's got the staring down really well in hand. But what was but she's also opened up a whole lot more. I think that if something like this had happened back in season 3, the person would have been dead meat and don't even go near her home. But what do you think Florence what feelings do you or opinions what do you think Florence went through with the whole Tom thing? Do you think that she was with Maisie? I mean, I didn't see you with a pitchfork going at him, but was she with Maisie, or do you think she was like, no, he was a victim as well?
I think the second, I
Hmm.
think that, and I also think that, Florence maybe felt some guilt because she had really enabled a lot of this whole experience by convincing Tom, you know, with her along with Minnie, and Molly to say, give us a chance, let us audition, to convincing the rest of the choir we should do this, to then also paying people's entrance fee, right? Her and Ned really, they were deeply actually in the core of facilitating this whole thing.
And
So
then
I
they
think,
actually wired the money as well. So
right,
yeah.
I think there was a part of her that felt really duped and kind of embarrassed.
Mm.
And also like, oh no, we actively participated in this. We
Mhm.
didn't see it coming. And so we want to be a part of the solution. We want to fix the solution. And yes, also now we can see he also got duped.
Mhm.
Like we all are in this together, and what can we do? So I think she when Nathan and Tom were saying, okay, we're gonna fix the problem by having our very own Valley of the Voices fundraiser. I think she was like, okay, great, great. What can I do, to be a part of the solution here? So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So
yes,
no going after Tom with a pitchfork, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think she was probably shocked and yeah, like anybody who's ever fallen for a scam, it doesn't feel nice,
Mhm.
right? You feel like, oh no, like I was silly. I was silly or I made a bad call or whatever. But really, no, you just got scammed.
Yeah.
People are good at it. They are good at manipulating. They are good at that. So I think wanting to be a part of the solution was totally on her mind. And also she got what she wanted, which is to also perform.
Bingo. I do have to say the adding, instead of saying I can't afford a carriage. Oh my gosh. When Florence just did, he can't afford a carriage. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's brilliant. It
That
was,
was that was me.
that was
I
you.
will take credit for that one. I will take credit for that one.
Good. Take it. Because
Like it was fun.
I laughed so hard. And I think I'm more prone to look for that kind of stuff because in college, when I was majoring in theater, we every time we did a musical, my theater professor was always saying, "Okay, take this song and put it in a different context. Take
Right.
this song and do it this way instead of this way." And it made us think and it made us do things differently. And so when I see things like that happening, I'm just like, that's what it's all about. Yes.
Yeah.
So
A little bit of creative license there. But we thought
I
it
think it's
it
allowed.
it matched. We thought that it was like within the realm of these characters. And, Rothgar and I wanted to play a little bit. And so they let us. They let us. So it was fun.
Which I mean, the results. I already told you it was it was the highlight. Okay, the bicycle horn, was that props? Was that script? Or was that Rothgar?
You know what? It was, well, here's the thing, right? It's like making a TV show, there's so many different people involved.
Yep.
Like there's so many different departments. And so they said to us on the day, oh, we actually have a bike, like a bicycle built for two. And we were like, but we didn't plan for a bike.
You don't
Like,
know how to write.
first of all, like someone's going to get hurt. Second of all, we already planned a whole song and dance, and so it was like, well, that's great, but it's just not going to be practical for what it is that we're doing. However, the horn I think it was Rothgar's idea. He was like, but maybe I could use the horn. Like maybe there's a way to, sort of use that at the end of the piece. And so that's how that sort of all ended up, coming to being. Because it's like there's so many different moving parts, right?
Uh-huh.
The props were like, okay, great, we'll get them a bike. But then we didn't know about the bike. And then even if we did know about the bike, the set was like
You were on a
small,
stage.
right?
How could you do
Somebody
that?
would have gotten hurt. Like
Yeah.
all of these different things to consider, right? So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. So that was fun. But I think that was a Rothgar edition.
Oh, good for him. I just recently watched him on I watched him on an episode of an old show,
Oh,
Hawkeye. And so I went, whoa, look at him then, look at him now. It was, one of those comparison things where it's so much fun to just
Yeah.
see what their acting style is 15, 20 years ago, and then what it
Oh,
is now. It was fun. It was really fun to watch.
totally, totally.
All right, so there are two members of the community that there has been a lot of buzz about them in the past several episodes. I wonder who we could be talking about. What I want to know is, what do you think Florence is thinking? How do you think Florence feels about the changes and events about Lucas becoming the governor?
Hmm.
And I mean, obviously, you were supportive. She was supportive of that because she was cheering along with everybody else. But and then, she saw Elizabeth go through this really hard breakup with Lucas, and now the feelings are blossoming with Nathan. How do you think Florence feels about all of those things? Do you think that she's going right along with it? Does she have reservations? What are your thoughts?
I think that Florence and Elizabeth are friends. I think that they've
Yeah.
come so far since season one,
Since you were calling her a princess.
Exactly right. I think they're friends now. And so
Hmm.
um as much as Florence has her, judgments at times, I
Hmm.
think that ultimately she looks to Elizabeth to go, how are you doing?
Yeah.
If you're okay, like obviously, Florence cares about Lucas, she cares about Nathan.
Hmm.
They are upstanding members of the community, and she, has deep respect
Hmm.
for both of them. But I think that, Florence would look to Elizabeth and go, does she seem happy? Does she seem good? Is she, you know, um, thriving and doing well? Then if so, I take my cues from her. So
Mm.
I think that she's, very supportive. I think that in terms of Lucas becoming the governor, I think Florence is like totally chuffed. That somebody from Hope Valley would have such an esteemed role,
Hmm.
in the world and in politics. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So I think she totally supports him in that way. I think in terms of Nathan and Elizabeth, they're having something blossoming. I
Hmm.
think that I think that Florence is like happy for them.
Hmm.
Really, I don't think that she has reservations. I think that
Oh, that's wonderful.
this is what Elizabeth wants. I'm in. Oh, and
She's
Florence is not known for being quiet about things. A couple of seasons ago, she was trying to give dating advice to Nathan, trying to say, hey, you've had your heart broken. Maybe you should just like chill and not get involved with anybody else for a while. Like, what? I mean, she doesn't really understand boundaries, right? So, she was really kind of being uh, she was being a bit forthcoming in a way, with Nathan sort of giving unsolicited advice. So, she's had her moments of giving an opinion about things. And
right.
I think that, she's grown and evolved and is happy in her own personal life. And I think really wants to see other people be happy in theirs too.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that scene so clearly, and it was so funny just watching Nathan scrambling for everything and trying to get out the door before he's interrogated more.
What's happening right now? Are you actually saying these words to me right now? I know, right?
Oh,
Anyway.
Florence.
Oh, yes. Listen, you know what? I think she always is just coming from a place of really trying to help. I am
Yeah.
trying to help. I am not doing it to get involved in people's business, but sometimes she does get involved in people's business.
Happens.
It happens.
So one more question I have, since we're on the subject of Nathan. So Allie.
Hmm.
Allie has gotten very manipulative with Florence, and she has pushed her way in twice now to do something very underhanded. How does Florence feel about that? Because first it was finding Uncle Jacob, and
Right?
then it was calling Granville prison, and
I
that's where we
know.
left off. So,
I know. Well, I don't know that Florence is aware. I don't
oh,
think that she is. I think that that storyline is sort of yes, she's a part of that story because she's enabling.
mm-hmm.
But from Florence's perspective, I think she's like, fantastic. I need a break. I got things to do, actually. Thank you for offering. What a nice young lady you are. So
Oh, that part's obvious, but you don't think she finds out later that that's when it happened?
I don't know about that.
It's a small town.
It is a small town. I mean, if she does find out about it, then maybe she's going to be more discerning, in the future, right?
Allie, you're
Like,
fired.
yeah, Allie, I don't think so. Hang on a second. Why are you offering to help me? Let me ask some more pertinent questions. You know,
Following up here.
exactly, exactly. But ultimately, oh well, what are you gonna do? Florence got something out of it too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, she got some time off.
She got some time off. Yeah.
Okay, so last question for you, and this is getting kind of into the mystery of everything. So Bernhardt Montague steals their water, is
Mhm.
the first suspect in Lucas's shooting, and Lucas is just now getting off the cane, and Bernhardt Montague comes back to town. And now it looks like he's not the one who was behind Lucas's shooting. Whoa! I mean, that is huge. And I can only imagine what members of the town are going through while we viewers are going, what happens next? What happens
Oh,
next? So, what are this? I know this is going to be hard for you to kind of discern because you were going through these feelings when you read through the script.
mhm.
But what do you think the townspeople are going through right now, besides obviously confusion?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think uh, Florence and Ned and Molly really are the the spokespeople for Hope Valley, right?
Yeah.
We're the ones who, story-wise, represent
Mhm.
Hope Valley. And we represent the people. We represent what people are talking about. So we could see from the episode on Sunday, they are not happy.
No.
They are not happy to see this guy back. They are not happy with who he is and the discoveries about him. And so our gut feeling is you're a bad guy. And whatever you did or didn't do in regards to Lucas, we really don't want this kind of
You're
vibe.
not welcome here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's where things are at right now. I can't reveal,
No, no, no.
what's coming. I know, but who doesn't love a good mystery, right?
I mean, I thought I had it all figured out. And
Yeah,
I,
but
I
you
thought,
definitely
oh,
can.
Bernhardt Montague is the mastermind somewhere. He is the mastermind somehow. And then I went, oh my word, what? so,
Stand by.
so I can only imagine, if this were a real place, I can only imagine what the inhabitants would be going through at a time like this. You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I think that, like, if people want to feel safe, right? And there's so
mhm,
much trust within the community. We have to have deep trust for each other. We have to.
mhm.
So when that sort of those tectonic plates sort of get shifted, it's like, whoa, it's jarring because it's
Yeah.
like we're not used to having people come into our world that we don't trust. That's a really big part of Hope Valley.
You're
And so
not
with
used to music that is quite provocative.
that's right.
Still my favorite line of yours.
I know, it's so funny. Funny, the writers have given me some absolute zingers over the years. Oh my goodness. Inappropriate mustard. Provocative music. I mean, honestly, like so fun,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Oh, so fun. What a character. What a character.
What a character and what a journey. I mean,
Mhm.
really and truly, she used to be this angry, prim and proper, no gray area kind of person. And now we've seen her blossom into a happily married woman for the second time. And then just to see how she has gone from there. One thing that I thought was so beautiful, and it happens so quickly, is just when Molly says, "Thank you for advancing me the money." What are friends for? I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
Molly's her best friend, but I think there would still be hesitation. And now it's absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. And I think some of that is practical because,
Oh,
like
I absolutely think it's practical because
Florence
she was a poor mine widow. Yeah.
and Ned and Florence, I think are doing well. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, they have two businesses in
Yeah,
town,
that's true.
pharmacy and the ice cream shop as well as the mercantile. And so I think, having that kind of, status and also having the means to be able to help people, I think that's something that is really important, to Florence and Ned. And, it hasn't always been that way for
Hmm.
Florence, right? She was also fighting with the mining company in court,
Yeah.
way back in season 2, trying
Hmm.
to, settle there as well. And so there's always been, this, if the town is in trouble, we often do see that, show up in our characters, right? Ooh. Um, so yeah, I think also it's just in line with, I think you're right. I once I looked up what is the meaning of Florence, because names have a meaning, and Florence,
Yes.
you know, and so honored to be playing a character that was named after Brian Bird's real life aunt. So
Forgot that
it's like,
part.
I mean, it's like, oh my goodness. It's kind of funny because, in season 1, he showed me a picture of his aunt Florence Blakely when she was a young woman. And it's weird, like we kind of looked a little bit alike. Like it was really like, whoa, that's sort of meant to be in a way. It was really, really interesting. Um, but the meaning of Florence is to bloom.
Yeah.
It's to flower, right? It's to bloom. And so I have always sort of taken that with me when every time I get sent something, oh, here's a new challenge for Florence, or here's a new part of her personality that we didn't know about before. She's always the same person. And I think she's always, going to be somewhat very bound by the rules and
Sure.
can be quite uptight, and restricted and controlling in certain ways. I think that's how she deals with things is by controlling things
Yeah.
as best as she can. But we've really had an opportunity to see her blossom into romance, into vulnerability, into humor, into standing up for her friends and being an upstanding member of the community.
And
And so
becoming a better friend, I think, too.
that's right, and she will still be the one to say, well, that's a problem. She's very right? But you need someone to say, well, hang on a second. Have you thought about this? We do need that,
The cloud for every silver lining.
right. That's right. So, but like, yeah, it works. It works. And,
It
and also
does.
what's great is it's so fun to play a character that gets to learn, that gets to change, that gets to make a mistake and then still be loved, that gets to sort of fall and accidentally send the wrong message through the gossip lines and gets reprimanded for that, but is still cared for, and is not exiled, So
No, she just has to pass out paper.
that's
She
right.
just has to
She
pass
does
out paper flyers by hand and walk all over
does her
town.
penance, right? She does her penance. But it's fun to play a character like that who's not perfect,
Yeah.
you know, so as none of us are really.
So what would be the point of playing a perfect character if you never got a chance to discover anything, right?
Totally. She gets to be human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of being human, I just have to say that I'll admit I was a little worried. What's going to happen to Flomo when Flo-Yo happens and they get married? But
Oh,
the way that the friendship has just continued, and yes, Ned is there now, but we still have
yes.
Florence and Molly jibber jabbering and hanging out together. It's just, I love the way that it's just changed. It didn't disappear, and
Yeah.
it just took a slight alteration, and it's sailing on. It's beautiful.
Totally, totally. Listen, Molly and Florence mean so much to each other.
Right.
And yeah, there's no way that's going anywhere.
No.
Oh, there's no way. They've got way too much history and way too much love and too much knowledge of each other. They're really deeply, deeply connected and best friends.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be able to have to show that side of Florence as well as, you know, the business side of Florence in the mercantile, you know, the messenger version of Florence, which is she's the one who shares the news, and the romance with Ned as well. So it's lovely to be able to have, you know, all of those different parts.
I'm waiting for I'm waiting for Florence to play matchmaker to Molly.
No, that would be so fun. I think she would just love it.
Oh,
Right?
she would take it and run with
Yes,
it.
she would. Yes, she would. Absolutely.
Well, Loretta, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh,
It's been too long since we've talked to you, and it's always just pure delight every time you come on. So happy to
thank
see
you
you
so
again.
much. Thank you, Cami. I really, really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for everything that you give, you know, to the Hearties and, you know, in support of When Calls the Heart. Really, it's so joyful to be able to, you know, connect. Like the look at what this show has done. It's brought together all kinds of different people. And so
Yeah.
now I get to know you, you know, because of this show. And thank you for all of the work that you do and all of your spirit and your support of When Calls the Heart. We're really, really lucky to have you.
That is so kind of you to say. Thank you so much. And I'll just say you're welcome.
Yay! Yay. Season 12 and beyond. Here we come.
Oh, I'm not stopping anytime soon because obviously the show's not stopping, so why should I, you know?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And Hearties, I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I have because it was a blast walking down memory lane and finding out the inner workings of Florence's mind and heart. So enjoy Sunday's episode, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.